Good afternoon and welcome to this December 13th, 2023 webinar, diving into Minnesota's early education reporting. I'm Rachel Cox. I'm on the support to training team here at JMC. I come to JMC with just about 15 years in education. I was in the college writing classroom, and then I spent some time as an elementary administrator. And I am joined today by the one and only, the angelic Miss Denise Drew. Denise, would you like to introduce yourself?
Well, heck yeah, when you introduce me like that. I'm Denise Drew, and I spent 25 years at the Lanesboro School in the office and recently came to JMC about a year and a half ago. So I do a lot in the office part of JMC. So it's a fun combination between Rachel and I. She has the teacher and administration side down, and I have the secretarial part down. So thank you, Rachel.
Thank you, Denise. Between me and Denise, we got you covered. All right. Reporting early education students to the state through JMC is crucial for securing appropriate funding. The methods for reporting your early education students in Minnesota depends on whether they're enrolled in a non-MARS or MARS funded program. JMC has all the tools you need to report your early education students regardless of the funding source. Here's what's on the agenda for today. We are going to look at defining those grade 0 subgroups, creating early education registration records, and reporting student records. If you could hold your questions until the Q&A session at the end of each section, you can go ahead and throw those questions in the chat, and then we will get to them as we wrap up each section of this presentation. Defining grade 0 subgroups. A grade 0 subgroup in JMC office distinguishes students involved in different early education programs to streamline early education identification and data sharing with the state. Label early education students with the appropriate state-defined preschool group code on the Edit School data page to designate the subgroup for early education students, ensuring the easy identification of students that are eligible for early education funding. So you go to Minnesota, MARS, Edit School data to define your grade 0 subgroups in JMC office. So the first step is to click the edit link next to the grade 0 subgroup that you've designated for early education students. So that's up to your school, that subgroup, whichever subgroup you want to use to designate a particular group, that's up to you. And you just have to keep tabs on which ones you've chosen for what. But you could use like that EC or the KA subgroups to begin creating that preschool group. The next step is to select preschool from the PK/KG drop-down list to indicate an early education grade level. Then you're going to want to enter any appropriate Title I funding indicators if that's applicable. Step 4, select the appropriate preschool group from the preschool group's drop-down list to indicate the early education program associated with that subgroup. Then you'll want to click the update link to save that group or click the cancel link to discard it. And then you just go ahead and repeat those steps until you have identified all those early education subgroups in your school. So we'll take a live look here at defining those grade 0 subgroups. All right, so from my JMC office homepage, I'm going to come to Minnesota, MARS, Edit School data. And here's where I have all of my grades listed here. So I already have one preschool subgroup identified. I'm just going to click edit here next to this so you can see my EC grade 0 subgroup designation here. I have preschool selected. And over here, I have my preschool groups. I have EE selected. And EE is the designation that you would want to use only for ECFE students and school readiness students. And those are the two most common preschool groups, are the ECFE and SR groups. So you use this EE indicator for that. And then once you have that preschool group set up, you go ahead and click update to save those changes. And then all the students that you put into that EC subgroup are going to be associated with that EE preschool group. So whether that be ECFE or school readiness. And that's about all there is to this step. Do we have any questions so far on designating those preschool groups?
No, we don't.
Okay. All right, then we'll keep on moving. And we'll look at creating early education registration records. JMC Office streamlines the creation of program records for early childhood and family education, so ECFE, and school readiness, SR, students, making it effortless to share accurate information with the Minnesota Department of Education. Just input essential details like program name, funding sources, registration date, and other pertinent information to ensure precise funding allocation from the MDE. To begin creating state reportable early education records, head to Minnesota Early Education, edit student early education. Excuse me. Step 1, enter a student's name in the find field to begin creating an early education record. A helpful tip: to narrow down your search to preschoolers eligible for state funding, simply select the appropriate subgroup designation for early education from your grade drop-down list. So right up here, you can find that EC group that we set up. I can limit there, so I only see the students who are in that subgroup. Step 2, click the Add Row button to add a record for the selected student. And step 3, click the Edit button to edit the early education record for the selected student. Then you're going to want to enter the date the student is registering in the registration date field, or you can click on that calendar icon to identify the date. Step 5, enter the program start date in the begin date field, or simply click the calendar icon once again to select that begin date. Step 6 is optional. You can enter the end date of the program in the end date field, or simply click the calendar button or the calendar icon again to identify the end date of the program. Helpful tip: no need to fill out the reason exited field unless a student is actually exiting the program. It's only used for that purpose. Step 7, you're going to select your funding source. So you're going to select either SR for school readiness or ECFE for early childhood family education from that program name. So you've got this program name drop down here. And again, these registration records are for those SR and ECFE students only. Helpful tip: you can enter the service attendance hours and service membership hours at a later date once those hours have been logged to make sure that your data is accurate. Step 8, place a check mark in the appropriate funding source or funding sources. So you may have more than one funding source, but down here, you're going to want to select those funding sources. Step 9, you can fill in the information for your registering people. You have person 1 and person 2 here. So you can fill in first and last name, date of birth, the relation to the student. You can fill this information in, but again, that is optional. And step 11, click the update button at the top of the record to save your changes, or click the cancel button to discard that record. So we can take a live look here at creating early education registration records.
Rachel, I think this is an appropriate question right now. It says, my preschool group is a VPK class, voluntary pre-kindergarten class, right? I do also report EE for them. So I can't label the preschool group as EE. Is that correct?
So if we're looking at this page here, we would want to make sure that you actually have it's a VPK group. So I believe that VPK, and this was something that you're probably going to want to double check with the state, but VPK, I believe, uses the indicators PA through PJ. So that would be what you'd want to use for that group. But again, I would double check with the state just to make sure that you're using the right code there. But EE, that is for students who have those early education, the ECFE and SR programs only, because those are not funded through MARS. So if you are trying to send that through MARS with that EE, you'll get an error on that one. Okay, and Eileen helped us out here and she said, yes, she uses the voluntary pre-kindergarten and she uses the PA for that. So I believe you can find that on the, am I right, the MDE website? These labels, is that what you're talking about? Yes, that is there. All righty, thank you. Yeah, no problem. Excuse me, I've got a frog in my throat. Okay, so from here, we'll go ahead and we'll take a look at those preschool registration records. So again, we're in Minnesota here, and we want to come down to early education and then edit student early education. So you want to choose the right student first. And I'm going to go ahead and limit. So I want to look at my EC subgroup. I'm going to select that. And then I have a drop-down list of all the students who are in that subgroup. So I chose Andy here. I already have a row added. So I'm just going to go ahead and edit the row that I have here. The registration date is listed as June 29th, the begin date as August 1st. Again, the end date, that can be left open, and the reason exited, you don't need to put that in there yet because it's only used if you have someone exiting the program. So this is where you indicate if it's an SR or ECFE student, and then you select those funding sources. And you can enter in the registering person 1 and 2 information if you have it available, but it's not required. And then you go ahead and update to save that early education record. And that's as simple as that. All right, do we have any questions on creating those early education registration records? Can take just a moment here.
Not at this time.
Okay, we'll keep on trucking ahead. Reporting student records. With JMC Office, quickly and easily identify early education program students in your school right from the View Student Data page. Simply assign students to the appropriate grade 0 subgroup, mark their record as state reportable, and indicate whether or not the student is MARS funded, depending on their early education program. And that's how you would mark them eligible for that early education funding. All right, to make the student's record reportable to MDE, head to the View Student Data page in JMC Office. Step 1, enter student's name in the Find field to begin marking their record for early education funding. And just like on that last screen we were on, you can limit your students here by that grade 0. Step 2, select the subgroup you've designated for early education students from the kindergarten group drop-down list to place the student in the appropriate early education subgroup. So you want to make sure that you've got the right subgroup selected here. And then a fun fact, a check mark is automatically placed in the MARS checkbox to ensure that the student records are shared with MDE during the state reporting updates. So this MARS box right here is automatically checked, and you want to leave that checked. So you should be good to go there. And then the next step is to click on your MARS tab. So you come over here and click on the MARS tab to view the MARS record for the selected student. So you can click the edit button to edit a student's MARS record, and then you will get the record will pop up here like this one. And step 5, remove the check mark from the include in MARS checkbox to designate the student as enrolled in early childhood and family education. So ECFE and school readiness or SR programs, which are not MARS funded. So just to repeat that, if you have a student, if your student here, if Joey, is in ECFE or school readiness, I would come to his MARS tab and I would uncheck this include in MARS because ECFE and school readiness are not reported through MARS. So on that general tab where we have it checked, it just says that the record's going to be sent. And here, unchecking this says we will not be sending it through MARS. However, our helpful tip here, you would place a check mark in the include in MARS checkbox for students enrolled in VPK, ECSE, or School Readiness Plus, because those programs are MARS funded. Step 6, click the update button to save the selected student's MARS record, or click the cancel button to discard your changes. And step 7, click either save button to save your changes to the student record, or you can simply navigate away from the page to discard your changes. And we can take a live look at reporting those student records. All right, so I'm going to come to my office homepage. I'm going to go to View Student Data. And I'm going to limit here. I'm going to actually choose my EC subgroup. And I have Joey already selected, and I can see here that he is in EC. If it's a student that I hadn't placed in a subgroup yet, I could just come up here and look at all of my students in grade 0, and then I can put them into the right subgroup. So I'll select Andy here. He is already in EC. I have his MARS box here checked, which means that his records will be sent. And then once I click on this MARS tab, he already has a record here. So I'm going to click edit, and you can see that he is not included in MARS, which is correct because my EC group is associated with ECFE, which is not reported through MARS. So this record looks good. I can go ahead and update. I can save his student record altogether here, and I am good to go. And that's how you set up those funding. those funding sources.
On this page, Rachel, we do have a question asking you to clarify between membership versus attendance hours. So membership days are the days that they are enrolled in your school. Attendance days are the days that they actually attended.
I think you answered that perfectly, Denise.
Righty? Yeah. So it'll become clearer as you go along and you use it. And once you update your Minnesota Mars, well, how does it? Click on Minnesota.
Sure.
And then Mars, calculate attendance. It will calculate it for you.
The first step is making sure that you have your calendar set up accurately. And that's under attendance, calendar, and days. So you want to make sure you have once you have that set up, your calendar set up appropriately, then just like Denise said, if you're in Minnesota, Mars, calculate attendance, then your attendance days they'll calculate for you, those membership days. Okay. Do we have any other questions?
I think you've covered them all. Thank you.
All right. Then we are ready to move on to JMC news and upcoming events. So tomorrow you can join us for a Features of JMC's Collaboration Tools webinar. The third week of December, we have working with JMC's Google Classroom integration and the features of JMC's refreshed new family enrollment portal. Toward the end of December, we are going to be looking at keeping on top of student progress with the student scope. And already looking forward to January, we've got a closer look at JMC's collaboration tools and getting ready for 2024 and 25. We are calling all shared superintendents now through March 31st of 2024. If you switch your second district to JMC, you'll get it free. You can give our sales team a call at 800-524-8182 extension 2 or email at sales@jmcinc.com to learn more. We have our Features of JMC's refreshed new family enrollment portal webinar coming up. That's what I was just telling you about. We're going to be focusing on collection templates that simplify your record creation, efficient review and communication processes with families, and the ability for families to specify their children's transportation needs during enrollment. You can join us alongside our JMC training team on December 21st, 2023 at 12:30 p.m. for an overview of what is new and improved. And we are looking for a few JMC superstars. At almost every school, we find an unofficial JMC go-to person. This is the person colleagues contact if they have a quick question about a module, if they have any tips and tricks that they can share with a colleague over lunch. When JMC training comes up, they're the ones who are nominated to go for the school. So if that sounds like someone you know, or even if that's you, we'd love to meet you. We have learned along the way that these JMC superstars make the best client service specialists, and we're looking for some passionate part-time client service specialists. And we also would love to encourage you to be social with us. You can stay up to date on all things JMC through our social media presence. You can follow us on Twitter, Facebook, and LinkedIn at OnlineJMC, or our blog, jmcinc.com/news. And on behalf of myself and Denise and all of us here at JMC, we would like to thank you for joining this webinar, and we would like to thank you for choosing JMC.